here. Thanks for tuning in. So I just want to give some insights and some of my experiences regarding Mercury retrograde. So Mercury retrograde and its pre-shadow, which is 7 days before the date. So Mercury retrograde is on the 14th of this week. 7 days before the 14th, we're in the pre-shadow where the effects of the retrograde can be seen and felt. Now, the pre-shadow I wouldn't think is severe. You should never do nothing Mercury related in the pre-shadow. That's a little far, but I do understand that the influence of Mercury is already starting to creep in, especially the closer you get to the day of the retrograde. Mercury is all about thoughts, communication, mind, business, travel, contracts, again, communications, meticulous details, that kind of thing. So when it's in retrograde, all of that wondrousness about Mercury is a little skewed. So things you need to be extra careful for. If you book an appointment for, let's say, just a vehicle tune-up, okay? I would call the day of, call the day before, make sure on the calendar, call the day of, make sure you're still scheduled. I would follow up with people. If you're waiting for a callback, I would call them. I would be on communication. The next thing is I would allow patience and understanding when it comes to communication because it will be challenged. And just in general, because life does come up, I wouldn't necessarily not do anything Mercury related during Mercury retrograde. Like, for example, some people religiously never buy phones or never buy cars or never do anything like that or travel great distances during Mercury retrograde because it is inherently going to be a little challenged. But just some insight into something I've experienced about the retrogrades is they're not set in stone. That's not a set in stone law that you will experience it at that time. Sometimes it trickles in a little bit later. For example, I had a great friend, she needed a new car. And she found the car, was sold on it, was like, okay, just get me some good tires on this car and I'm going to come back and get it. And then the day of that she was supposed to go buy it, she found out that the car wasn't that great. And the cards that she was throwing and the divination she was getting was like bad. Walk away from the car. And so she told the dealership that. They're upset, and they recommended a different car. Something she totally just blindsided her, right? She's like, okay, well, I need a car, so okay, let's do it. The process goes smooth, the contract is signed, the financing is done, all of that goes well. But, oh, I got a 222, but about a month or so, or some time passes, there are some issues that come up with the car. Again, during the retrograde, she bought this vehicle, which is very mercurial. Nothing bad happened during the retrograde itself and the car buying process. But the issue with the car came up with the engine light and something with the gas tank or something like that. It came up later. And then I was telling them, like, they brought that up to me, like, oh yeah, well, Mercury doesn't forget. And then I got a confirmation from a guide, it's like a synchronicity of confirmation. I was like, oh, yep. Another one, again, so it didn't affect them then, but it caught up to them later. Another one was a coworker of mine. She was applying for a better job versus the company we were at the time. And she was applying during Mercury retrograde. And in my head, I'm like, oh, I don't know if that's a good idea, but, all right, their path, right? And so she went and applied, didn't get the job, waited about a month, again, out of a job, and then eventually she kept applying, and then she got it. So again, it worked out, but it was a little more bumpy than it had to be. Myself and one of my friends, we started lighting Mercury retrogrades, we started lighting Mercury retrograde candles to prevent Mercury retrograde or to soften the lessons of it, like a month in advance. You get the red candles, you do certain symbols, plenty of time in advance, and then during that whole Mercury retrograde time, we were just cruising by. I mean, I had some lessons here and there, but that's just evolution. A lot of my metaphysical friends, they were having great difficulty in all the areas of Mercury. And I was just like, oh yeah, it is Mercury retrograde. So again, lighting your candles, doing your prayers way before it in advance helps prepare the energetics for your life in the future. So what I did specifically was, I got this from my teachers, BP, Blessing Path. First, you get your white candle. This is Source, Creator, your allies. Light the white candle, call them in. Then get a red or an orange candle. And I would draw the banishing Mercury hexagram on it to relieve the influences of Mercury retrograde specifically. And I'd draw that on your candle or carve it in if you really can. That's even better. And then light it with the intention to soften the lessons, reduce lessons of Mercury retrograde. Now, if the retrograde has already started and you haven't planned to do the white and red candle in advance, or white and orange, I would just do a candle for the source. Get a white candle, carve in the name of the higher power that you connect to. For me, that's Creator, Wakantanka, Great Spirit, just Creator. Carve that into the candle, light it. So that energy of the Creator is with me at all times. Well, it always is, but even more so during the retrograde. I wouldn't give it any specific intention or spell. It would just be Creator, walk with me, right? Just something very simple. Because when it comes to magic and retrograde, if it's just source and you, Mercury can't really mess that up. If it's source, please give me a new home, okay, Mercury can come in and twist that a bit. So again, I would just plan your magic carefully, plan things carefully. I wouldn't enter really into new contracts with people. I wouldn't be getting a new job or buying a new car or traveling really far to go see some family member they haven't seen in a while just for fun. Again, I would keep it to necessity during Mercury retrograde if you're able to. Now is a great time for rethinking things, researching, meditating, going in, introspection, a lot of hermit activities, the Hermit Tarot card, things like that. And again, patience and understanding is always a virtue during this time. And then just some signs that I've noticed when retrograde is coming up or when the planets are a little weird. The first thing that sticks out to me is the cars on the road and people driving. It'll be more chaotic, more, I'm going to push myself in, I'm going to get behind you, just more chaotic and just claustrophobic on the roads. And I usually know, okay, something's going on. Like a while ago, I noticed the cars were acting so weird. People on the road were acting so weird. It's like, something going on? And then I asked my teacher, she's like, yeah, I think it was like Neptune or something quite out there was like having an issue. I was like, oh, okay. And again, same thing with Mercury retrograde. A while back, I think it was the first day of the retrograde. I was pulling out of my driveway, and this car goes, like right in front of me, like, I don't even know, like 5 feet in front of my bumper, like, could have just sideswiped me, taken me out. But thank God I had protection, so we were okay. So, yeah, so again, just weird stuff. You notice weird things popping up here and there, just to be aware of. Alright, that's all for now. If you have any fun Mercury retrograde stories, go ahead and put them down in the comments. I love reading all of them. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.